What's up, ladies and gentlemen? The knight is the trickiest piece in chess. It moves very differently than other pieces. It can jump over your problems as well as your opponent's problems and can make you win a lot of games if used correctly. In today's video, I'll share 10 little known facts about the knights. Let's get started. Fact number 1. The knight is the best defender of the king. In case you didn't know, the knight is the king's best friend. E.g., here we have a random endgame position where white has 2 knights and the rook versus black's queen. It's black to play and white to draw. After queen takes d3 check, this position is a dead draw because all of our pieces are close to each other and they are very well coordinated. For example, the knight is good at defending everything. And right now you can see black has got no checks. This one knight move controls all these highlighted squares. It may take black to play quite a number of moves to find another check, but even this is a 1-0 move. We can block the check with a rook or maybe with a knight if we want. Let's say king e4, we have rook, pieces well defended, queen h5, anything is playable, rook f1 or even king f1, queen h1 check, we have knight g1. Again, you can see that our knight is stopping queen h3. So the only trick is just to make sure that all of your pieces are closer to each other. The king must be close to your knight and also your rook. At the end of the day, it is black who needs to be very careful. Another example that demonstrates how powerful the knight can be is this one that you're seeing on the board. Let's say you have 2 knights and black only has a queen. So the only trick is to make sure that your pieces are closer to each other, and at best you need to make sure that your knights are protecting each other at all time. Black just played queen f1, so here you can go king e3, and no matter what black does, you'll just be moving your king on these highlighted squares, sometimes your knight, as long as every piece is defending every piece. A more practical example that I can give is from the Caro-Kann defense position. For example, after white plays e4, you go c6, d4, d5, knight c3. There's nothing to memorize here, I just want to make a point. Knight to f6. This is called the Tartakov variation. Very common position in the Caro-Kann defense. Knight to f3, bishop d6, developing normally, bishop d3, castle short, and now we reach a position worth remembering in the Tartakov variation where you need to reposition your queen's knight to the king side after playing rook e8. And you will know the reason why we do this. The whole idea is to place the knight on f8 so that we don't need to worry anymore about our h7 pawn, because now white has no chance to take on h7 or whatsoever. For example, bishop e3, we got bishop e6, bishop c2. Sometimes they like doing this, wanting to take on h7, but that's not available because we can simply take back the queen and we are good. So you can see how well the knight defends the king. Surely it is the best defender of the king. There's no doubt about that. Fact number 2. A knight is the only piece that can be developed before your own pawns. And see, developing your knight early in the opening stage can help you establish early control of the center of the board, which is the squares that I have highlighted. You can also start with knight c3 on move 1. Now you know an opening to play in the tournament if you want to avoid lots of theories and unnecessary traps. For example, d5 is the top played move here, and you can simply go pawn to c4. By the way, this is the Reti opening. The top played move according to the Lichess database you can see is d takes c4. If you want to win back the pawn, immediately you can go queen a4 check and win that poor pawn, but you don't have to do that if you have a better developing move. And again, you can see knight to f6 is the top played move, after which you take on c4, you take back your pawn, by the way. And now this looks like the Sicilian with colors reversed. Now black wants to play pawn to e6, but they don't want to block their light squared bishop, so they are more likely to develop their light squared bishop first before playing pawn to e, which is a blunder, by the way. Because of this simple trick, you can actually play the second knight move. You can see how flexible the knights are. They open up many opportunities for other traps. See this, you guys. Bishop takes d1 is the top played move, which is a blunder because that hangs mate in 1. And I mean, even if black doesn't take your queen, if they play, let's say, bishop e6, you can simply take, mess up their pawn structure on the center, or just go queen a4 check, and after pawn to c6, you take the bishop, fe, then queen b3, and there is a problem. Another example for e4 lovers, you can start with e4, then after e5, you play knight to f3 right away. This forces black to defend the e5 pawn, which is undefended at the moment, also covering the g5 square. For example, black has to play knight c6 here. Then again, we don't always have to develop a light squared bishop. developing the knights first is the safest way to start the game of chess, you guys. That's the point I'm trying to make. E.g., if bishop c5, you even have knight takes e5 in his position, and after pawn takes, you have d4, and on the next move, you're going to be up a tempo and have initiative. For example, you want to take on g7 on the next move after playing pawn to f4. So all these are tactics that can happen if you develop your knights first before developing any other pieces. Very important opening principle to always keep in mind. Even if they don't play bishop c5, by the way, let's say they play knight f6, they copy you, you can try to delay bishop c4 or bishop b5. You don't want to develop any other pieces yet. There's this move that you can try out, which I covered in the video that has popped up in the card above. A prophylactic move, pawn to a3, giving black one more chance to error with bishop c5 so that you can take the free pawn on e5. And on the next move, you double attack the bishop and the knight. Let's say this time they don't take your pawn, which they are not supposed to do. And bishop d6, you have pawn to f4 and you start matching forward with your pawns. On the next move, you're going to win one knight and see how well advanced your pawns are. Anyways, so always remember that developing your knight early can help you establish early control of the center of the board. Anyways, fact number 3, developing the knight early opens up many opportunities for traps. Yeah, like, have you ever wondered why many opening traps usually involve at least one knight's maneuvering or the involvement of a king's knight? For example, after d4, you can go knight to f6 as black. The top played move is c4. Then you have an option to play pawn to e5 or pawn to e6. If you want pawn to e5, that's fine. And after pawn takes, you can go knight g5. See, you are only playing with the knight. You haven't developed any other piece. And this may open up many opportunities for traps simply because the knight covers many squares on the board, you can see, hence limiting your opponent's moves. For example, knight to f3 defending the e5 pawn. Yep, you can go knight c6, which will cover more and more squares. But just to end the game quickly, d6 is not much of a stretch. I mean, the top played move is e takes d6, as you can see. Now you can take back with your bishop, and once again, you can see pawn to h3 is what everybody plays, which is a blunder. Because of your first knight move, you have an opportunity to take on f2, which is a sacrifice, also forking the queen and the rook on h1. For example, king takes, and now you go bishop g3 check, covering the e1 square. The king can't go back, so on the next move, you're going to win white's queen like this. So all this happened because of your early king's knight development. Another example that I can give after d4, knight to f6 and pawn to c4 is why you play pawn to e6 immediately. The Indian defense normal variation where white plays knight c3. Then right away you go d5, c takes d5, e takes d5. And now you can see the top played move is bishop g5. They like pinning your knights this way. So simply go knight bd7. I want to show you a little trap called the elephant trap, you guys, which happens after knight takes d5 by white. A terrible blunder because they thought your pawn on e5 was hanging because your knight is still pinned to the queen. But you can simply take back the knight. If bishop takes, you now go bishop b4 check. Now you can see that white cannot block this check with his elbow or his stomach. They have to do it with their queen, after which you take their queen and make them lose their right to castle. You take their bishop. In this position, you're just simply up a piece with a clear winning position. So once again, developing your knights first may open up many opportunities for some quick traps. Against pawn to e4, you can try the Ali Hines defense, which I love, because after e5, you can go knight d5, and if pawn to d4, try the O'Sullivan gambit with pawn to b5. If you want to know more about this interesting gambit, watch this video that has popped up in the card above after you finish watching this very interesting video that will teach you more about how to be aggressive in chess. Because of your knight which sits on d5, you're going to have many trappy opportunities that white is going to fall into. So just give it a try and let's move on. Fact number 4, an extra knight can turn tables around, especially in blitz, rapid, and bullet chess. For example, this position that you're seeing on the board right now is from a game between Gotham Chess IM Levi Roseman versus International Master Eric Rosen. Levi had white pieces and he was clearly winning at this stage of the game, and Eric had black pieces. Levi played rook f1 in this position. By the way, there's no need to master this position. I'm trying to make a point. Eric played h6, then king g2 by Levi, Queen g6, getting out of the possible danger. Queen e3, maybe wanting to take and take. Then knight to f5, attacking the queen. Queen e1 by Gotham. Levy. Rook e8. Then g4, making sure that the g-pawn won't hang in case the queen goes away. Knight d4 was played. Then f takes e5, and now Levy has an open file. D takes e5, queen e3. The thing is, this was a clear winning position for white. King h7, pawn to g5. Taking won't be a wise thing because of this and this. h5 was played. Then queen e3, or just shuffling around the pieces. Now Eric's knight is attacked twice. So knight d4, rook f1, and on the next move, Levy managed to trick Eric so that after takes, he could easily simplify the game, but Eric played king h8, queen g5, knight h6, rook takes, queen f8 by Eric, holding on to dear life. Then queen takes h5, free pawn, king g8, queen e2, king h8, rook e8. Now Eric's queen is pinned to the king, and this is clearly losing, but Eric played knight g8 immediately, and Levy took the free queen, but this resulted into stalemate. Because of the knight move, you can see once again that the knight is the best defender of the king. So this is just to make a point that never resign if you have an extra knight. Fact number 5, knights are the owners of the f4 square. So in the middle game, if you can manage to put your knight either on f5 or on f4, then you're more likely to win the game. This is just how it works, you guys. For example, e4, knight c6. d4, e5. You can see the top played move is d5, then knight c e7. The idea is to put the knight on g6 after pawn to c4. White is just trying to gain some more central space. Then you go knight g6, or after knight c3, the top played move, you go bishop b4, pinning the knight to the king. The idea is that whatever white does, you just want to get rid of white's knight and mess up his pawn structure on the king side. Then you go d6. Remember, this is not about the opening. I'm trying to make a point on how you can plant one of your knights on f4 or sometimes f5. So pawn to h6, the top played move is bishop e3. They want to go c5, so you play b6, over controlling the c5 square, then a4, a5, then h3, and now it is time to place one of your knights on the juicy f4 square. So the best way to do it is to play knight h5, not knight f4 right away. By the way, if you think white can take a free pawn on e5 because they are indirectly attacking your undefended knight, well, they'll just lose a free piece after knight takes d3. So this cannot happen. If king h2, for example, now you plant your h-knight on f4 forever. Black cannot even play pawn to g3 here because they'll lose their h-pawn. And if bishop takes, you take back with your other knight. It's very difficult for your opponent to remove this knight, and you can see that it's covering all these highlighted squares, hence limiting white to make certain moves. Anyways, fact number 6, knights are the owners of the f5 square. So again, you can do the same thing of planting your knight on f5, especially in the middle game, and you are going to start controlling the game up to the end game. For example, this was the game I played a few days ago on Lichess against a national master. The link is in the comment section down below. I started with e4. My opponent played e5, bishop c4, the bishop's opening, then knight f6, knight f3. Remember, I just want to make a point. So this is not a video about openings. The point is we want to put one of our knights on f5 and start controlling the rest of the game. Bishop b3, a prophylactic move, a5. I played a4, d6, knight bd2, bishop g4, h3, bishop e6. I don't have to take because that will strengthen black's center anyways. Bishop c2, rook e8, knight f1. Now you can see this idea coming once again. And that was everything that was in my mind. I castled short, putting my king to safety. After dc, I took back with my b pawn, and now my c pawn is still doing a great job of controlling these highlighted squares. Bishop b6, then knight h4. You can see the idea very clearly. After knight e7, yeah, I couldn't play knight hf5 immediately because black defended well, but I waited. I played bishop takes h6, by the way, which was a blunder, but I still wanted to win the game. After gh, queen f3, and this is when I planted my knight on f5. So even though I'm down a piece, my knight is sitting on a better square, the f5 square. I went on to win this game like magic, and I knew I had an advantage. I didn't have to worry because I had so many threats. You can see this, and this. So black had to give up his knight. I took it. Now material is equal. And because of my knight on f5, black can't play rook g7 or this or this. Anyways, the game ended on move 31. I'm trying to do a little discovery since my light squared bishop is on c2. And that's what happened in the game. After queen h4 and bishop takes e5 check, I played f4 and my opponent resigned. Anyways, fact number 7. The knight is very good when it comes to forking pieces. For example, in this position, black's rook is on f4 and his king is on c7. It is white to move and claim an advantage. Yep, the move is knight d5 check, and this is what we call a fork, as in F-O-R-K. Knight d5 is check, and at the same time attacking black's rook. It could be any other piece except for black's knight. Yep, so this is how it works. Let's move on. Fact number 8. Knights are particularly good at establishing outposts. In simple terms, an outpost is a square for a piece that cannot be attacked by an opposing pawn. This can well be demonstrated in the early Heinz defense, where white starts with e4 and then knight to f6, e5, then you play knight d5, white plays c4, attacking your knight you go knight b6, d4 can be met with d6, if pawn to c5, now you can put your knight on d5, and this is called an outpost for your knight. Why? Because it can never be attacked by your opponent's pawns. Of course, your knight has to be protected by one of your pawns or any other piece. For example, d4, and there's no way white can ever attack your knight on this square with his pawns. So you have to position a knight on a protected square in the middle of the board that cannot be attacked by a pawn. By the way, occupying a strong outpost can also cramp your opponent's development and become a key point in an endgame. For example, you can see how black is restricting white's moves as highlighted. So this is a very good outpost. Anyways, fact number 9, a knight on the rim is dim. See, knights are most effective when they occupy the center of the board, as a center position maximizes the number of possible moves that a knight can make. A knight placed at the edge of the board or on the edge of the board like this can only attack 3 or 4 squares, whereas a centrally placed knight, which is somewhere here or here or here or even here, can attack 8 squares. For example, e4, e5, don't ever think of developing your knight this way. At best, it will only control 2 squares, which is very bad, but knight to f3 makes a lot of sense because it has all these possibilities and covering more squares. Anyways, fact number 10, the knight moves and attacks indirectly. Hey, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please hit the like button and remember to check out my new E4 course at www.casperchess.com, and there you can also sign up for my free masterclass and join membership to my Patreon page. Become my partner if you want to start earning some commission, making some passive income. All you will need to do is to promote my courses on your social media platforms, and once anyone buys, you get your share and buy yourself a coffee. Anyways, thank you for watching my video once again. Until next time, bye bye.